The penultimate day of pre-season testing is in full swing. Welcome to the Chang International Circuit here in Buriram. Lewis Sotheby and Jack Appleyard, joined by Pecco Bagnaia, who is now heading out for his first run of this afternoon session. The first day of two here in Thailand, which is split into two. The practice start session around about 1 o'clock this afternoon. They're now back out on track through to 6 p.m. for the first of 2 days here in Thailand. Lewis Sotheby and Jack Appleyard with you as we were in Malaysia. We've come to the pit lane for two reasons. First of all, to give you an idea of what's going on down here, but also to get some much needed shade from the furnace that is just the other side of that grandstand.
Yeah, of course, we're here this year in February and then again in March. Very different time of year, very different season when it comes to Thailand. Normally it's the rainy season, which is why the temperature now is quite significantly greater than what we're normally used to at the time of year we come. The heat is just so dry as well, and we're now just gone 3 o'clock local time, which is going to be the time that we have our 13-lap sprint and then 26-lap Grand Prix in around 2 weeks' time. So that's why probably not today, but into tomorrow, this time is going to be crucial with everyone on the grid, I imagine, either doing a sprint simulation or a full Grand Prix simulation to try and take full advantage of the track time they've got to be as ready as possible for the Thai Grand Prix round one in a couple of weeks.
35 degrees is the air temperature just as we came on the air. Track temperature is well into the 50s. Officially on our live timing it says it's 52 degrees. Our screens in the media centre say it's as high potentially as 57 out there on track. Punishing conditions for riders and for machines. We don't want to repeat ourselves on these midday lives, but at the risk of repeating ourselves, Alex Marquez, unbeaten so far in pre-season testing. He topped the Barcelona test in November. He topped the Sepang test last weekend. So far, midway through day one, Alex Marquez is quickest here in Buriram.
Yep, and you'd have to say, going into the Thai Grand Prix at this current moment, it looks as though the four names that we're going to be speaking about will come as not much surprise to anyone, but the big hitters going into it are going to be Alex Marquez on the GP24, Franco Morbidelli on the GP24, and Marc Marquez and Pecco Bagnaia on the GP25, despite the fact that they have still got some big decisions to make. Today is D-Day for Ducati. Davide Tardozzi confirmed it to me at the start of the day, is that all decisions with regards to their 2025 package will be made by the end of day, because then they want to spend tomorrow fully working on round one to make sure they can be as competitive as possible. So they're splitting the test into two halves, really, are the factory Ducati squad. Today, a more general overview to try and get that bike as ready as possible, as complete as possible for the entirety of the year. And then tomorrow, sole focus will be, let's dial ourselves in for round one.
And what we've seen so far, of course, with Alex Marquez quickest overall. Marc Marquez was up towards the sharp end also this morning. This is one circuit that history indicates that if the Ducati's going to go well, it's going to go exceptionally well here.
Yes, Ducati dominated the Thai Grand Prix last year. In the sprint, they locked out the top 8. The nearest KTM was 13.5 seconds adrift over a 13-lap race. The nearest Yamaha was 14.5 seconds away. Honda, 18.5 seconds. Aprilia, 19.5 seconds. They had 7 bikes inside the top 10 at the end of practice. They locked out the first front 2 rows of the grid. This circuit is made for Ducati. It plays to its strengths, in particular the first sort of half a lap, whether it's the run down towards the final corner, hard braking, get it stopped, accelerate, turn 1, hard braking, stopped, accelerate, turn 3, hard braking, stopped, accelerate. That's where they gain all of their time. It was a complete Ducati domination when we were last here in November, so you wouldn't be surprised at all if come tomorrow evening, maybe even tonight actually, because I do know that Franco Morbidelli is going to be going for a time attack later on today. He's one rider that hasn't in the morning. You won't be surprised if we see A Marquez, M Marquez, P Bagnaia, F Morbidelli, certainly inside the top 5. I think it'll be a huge surprise if they don't lock out the top 4, because yes, some manufacturers have improved, but this place in particular, Ducati are just in a different league. You look at the best lap times set by each manufacturer at this place when you go throughout the years, most of them were set this time, or when we were here just 6 months ago. Ducati have got basically 3/4 of a second over everybody else. Then there's half a tenth in between the rest of the manufacturers. It's very close actually between Yamaha, KTM, Aprilia and Honda, but Ducati are just in their own league, so it's definitely going to be interesting to see, certainly by the time we get to close of play tomorrow, if that advantage is still there. Personally, I think it definitely is.
Yeah, certainly the characteristics of this circuit, as Jack mentioned, will certainly exaggerate an advantage that Ducati may have, but they certainly do seem to have that advantage that was baked in from last season. We'll touch on some of the other manufacturers shortly. Of course, Yamaha, one of the big stories of the Sepang test. It's fair to say it's not been quite as impressive from them so far. We'll get into that a little bit shortly, but we're about to be joined by the team manager of the rider who has been ripping up the pre-season testing timesheets. That, of course, is Alex Marquez for the Grassini squad, and his team manager, Michele Massini, joins us. Michele, welcome. First of all, testing can't really have gone much better so far for Alex Marquez. As we were just speaking as we came on the air, he remains unbeaten so far in pre-season testing. How excited can we get about his performances so far?
Yeah, so far we still confirm the good feeling that we already find in Barcelona with the bike, confirmed in Sepang, also here at the moment. The feeling is so good. We already still trying different setup to be prepared for the first GP. At the moment, is looking really excited. The beginning of this season with Alex.
Yeah, how good a position does it put you in to have a motorcycle that's already dialed in from last season, particularly in mind of the fact that the first Grand Prix of the season is here? You can almost treat these first 2 days as the first 2 days of the Thai Grand Prix weekend.
Yeah, for sure. This is important to already discover a bike that already ran for 1 year entirely with the factory team. So we have already some data to looking at and to try different configuration, and we still adapting very well.
And the outlook for 2025, I imagine, as we've gone through pre-season, is looking better and better for you guys on 12-month-old machinery. Looks as though the factory Ducati team are leaning towards staying with the 2024 engine. Looks as though some of the new innovations aren't there today as well. As we go in towards round one, right now it looks as though your bike isn't going to be too dissimilar to what the factory bike is.
We already know from the last couple of races of last year that we will have a really performance package this year. So far, we need to be focused on our package. For sure, the factory team will improve the package, the bike and everything. But I think that we have to extract the maximum of this package from the first GPs of the 2025.
How pleasing has it been as well? We know the jump that Ducati made from 23 to 24, but Alex seems to have just instantly been able to be comfortable and fast and competitive despite the step forward in performance.
Yeah, right. He find immediately some good, positive, strong point of this bike that he matches with his riding style, in particularly with the braking and entry. So we are really motivated to continue to improve with this bike.
Let's talk about your rookie, Fermin Aldeguer. How do you see his progression so far, his adaptation to MotoGP? He seems from the outside to be taking it all in his stride. What about from your point of view inside the box?
Yeah, I really like his approach to the new category, to made step by step some improvements, and for sure now the difficulties will come because every circuit he never ride with a MotoGP. The point of reference are completely different in respect to the Moto2, but he's still learning, and the importance is to make a kilometer, and always to make this small step ahead. So never made let me say, a mistake that we cannot give us a good progression.
What did he tell you about his practice start earlier on?
Yeah,
he's close.
We told him that for sure the grid start will be a bit dirty, but anyway, he always prepared that, and for sure at the end of this day we will start from a different position to try to find the cleanest track.
Yeah, we're speaking about, we had a practice start session this lunchtime today, a slight change from Sepang. All of the manufacturers unanimously agreed that both today and tomorrow we'll have a practice start at lunchtime, and then after the session as well. Fermin's first practice start started facing towards turn one, finished facing us on the pit wall. Yeah. It was a big moment for him, but luckily it seems to have improved after that. Just interestingly on Alex, I saw that a couple of his practice starts in Sepang weren't perfect as well. How different is the 24 bike from the 23 to get it off the line?
But I think that is not a big difference. The important is always to ride, to find the right setup with the class and the electronics elements. But I think not so much different. He already made a really good start during the Sepang test, we see from the data. And I think that we are quite positive regarding the start.
Yeah, just give us an insight into why that practice start session was added. I mean, we speak about it, just how important it is in MotoGP now to make sure not only that you qualify well, but then take advantage of that. How much work throughout this testing goes into those practice starts?
Yeah, now also with the new schedule, with the sprint races, is the key of all the races to always start in the first 3 row. I mean. And made a good start always to try to don't have too much gap from in the first lap from the first riders. So I think that is the key, is the 60% of every race.
Last one, because I think you need to go. What's the plan this afternoon and tomorrow? Might we see a sprint simulation or maybe even a Grand Prix simulation?
No, I think that we will try the simulation tomorrow, where will be also, I think, better condition of the track, more grip, and for sure we have to find today, try to find the right base, some little bit more adjustment in the electronics and setup parts to be ready for tomorrow, to be focused only on the GP.
Thanks, Michele. I'm being told to wrap up. I know
we
you
understand that Fermin's just had a crash out on circuit at turn 8, so we better let you go, get back to work and check that everything's okay with Fermin. But thank you very much for joining us, and we wish you a good rest of the test. That's Michele Massini from the Gresini MotoGP squad joining us live here on MotoGP's Midday Live. Let's just try and cover off some of the other topics.
Under the shade, if we can.
While we try not to cook in the intense heat here in Buriram. And we did talk about practice starts there with Fermin Aldeguer. Practice starts, it was quite an interesting watch actually on the pit wall at around about 1 p.m. local time, because we were speaking there about the Ducati GP24s and how they were getting off the line. The 25s weren't exactly having a good time of it themselves, were they?
Yeah, that's going to be a very, very important thing for us to watch later on today, into tomorrow, and then throughout the Grand Prix as well, because a couple of people that were on pit wall, as we see, Fermin Aldeguer, the MotoGP rookie, just arriving back to the box here after his crash, and looking at those levers, that was a fast one. It's good to see that he is relatively okay, given the fact that he's on the back of the scooter, is Fermin Aldeguer. He's walking okay as well, so that is great to see, but that was a fast one.
Yeah, turn 8, we understand, which is the corner that Marc Marquez, you might remember, crashed out of the Grand Prix last year in the wet conditions while he was tracing Pecco Bagnaia. But yeah, we were watching Bagnaia and Marc Marquez's practice starts. Bagnaia's first left a big black line on the start-finish straight, and then the rest of the starts, they were really struggling to keep that front wheel down. There were a lot of wheelie as those GP25s were trying to get down to turn 1.
Yeah, as I was saying, a couple of guys on the pit wall that I was speaking to have had the opportunity to watch all of them throughout Sepang have said, Marc Marquez in particular, they don't think they've seen him do a good start at all throughout pre-season testing. They were saying it is just flabbergasting how every single practice start that Marc Marquez has done, he just hasn't been able to get dialed in, which to me, you would have to assume that Ducati are just trying to find that extra bit of performance in the GP25, and at the moment just haven't got those launch control settings fully dialed in, because as you said, whether it was Bagnaia spinning up the rear wheel, Marquez spinning up the rear wheel, or then more frequently, as soon as they started letting out the clutch, the front end just pogoing away, they just could not get it sorted. On the other side of the coin, a couple of different members of rival manufacturers, and me included, noticed that the Yamaha has made a big step on their starts. In particular, it sounds as though that they've got a new clutch system there, which sounds very, very similar to the KTM, where it really does scream. It wrings its neck off when it starts and just drives forward. I mean, the KTM is still so impressive to watch. Those things are absolute rockets off the line. But the good news for Yamaha, and this is what someone pointed out to me, it's not just one rider who's been able to just perfect it. All 4 riders, every single time and time again, the sample size is there. They were very, very good off the line. So that's another positive for Yamaha, who, although haven't set the world alight in terms of the timesheets just yet, anywhere near what they were able to do in Sepang, give them time. I think that might come, because I still think that there is sign of improvement there, but certainly, if they can qualify well, which they've proven in Sepang, they're able to put that one lap together with a bit more ease now. Looks like they're also going to be able to start well. But certainly, for me, one of the big stories going into round one is Mark and Pecco getting that GP25 off the line, because we're so accustomed to that being leading the race into the opening corner. Normally, the Ducatis are absolute dynamite. The gold dust off the line, but so far they're having some challenges, which is going to be an interesting one to watch.
And in conditions such as this, around circuits such as this, that early track position could be so crucial. If you can get out front in the early parts of a race, it's so difficult for anyone to overtake you. This is Fermin Aldeguer's motorcycle now returning back to the Gresini box as the cover protects the damage from any prying eyes and prying cameras. Here comes the number 54. Right-handed corner, turn number 8. As mentioned, we saw quite a few crashes there in the wet last year, the Thai Grand Prix that Pecco Bagnaia won. Marc Marquez went down right behind him into turn number 8. So let's take a close look now at this Gresini Ducati. You can see some clear damage there. The right-hand side winglet has been taken off. You can see big damage to the screen as well at the front.
Not
clearly
bad.
It's a lot of cosmetic damage, but we've certainly seen worse, haven't we?
Yeah.
There's a little bit of smoke sort of licks away at the back as well of that Gresini Ducati. So let's cover off some of the other talking points. We mentioned Yamaha there a moment ago. Clearly positives from the day so far for them are their starts. I guess if you want to be a little bit negative for Yamaha, the electric pace that we saw from them in Malaysia hasn't exactly come to light so far.
As we officially declare Lewis Sotheby as a Fermin Aldeguer fan. There we go. We might get that signed and we can put that on social media for a draw. If anyone would like a broken screen of Fermin Aldeguer.
2 Wheels for Life might be laying a claim for that one. So let's also touch upon Honda, because 4 riders at the time we came on air had lapped in the 129s. Alex Marquez, Marc Marquez, Pedro Acosta on the KTM, and Luca Marini on the Honda HRC Castrol machine. Now, clear from Sepang that in terms of race distance, long runs, Honda still do have a long way to catch up. But further evidence their single lap pace has closed the gap.
Yeah, early on in the day, it was about 2.5 hours into it, with temperatures pretty high as well. Marini was 0.3 of a second adrift of Honda's best ever lap around here, which is a very positive sign indeed. We saw that both Joan Mir and Johan Zarco were able to go under their fastest ever times in Sepang. Interestingly enough, we spoke a lot, in particular about Honda and KTM as well, about the introduction the pair of them had of the new seat unit as they both try and eradicate the rear chatter issues that they've been having since the introduction of this new Michelin rear tyre. On Honda's side, it's only Somkhat Chantra, the rider that's running it now, the rookie, with Mir, Zarco, Marini, all moving away from it, which means you would have to say that right now the direction is to start the season without that. Same goes for KTM as well. Brad Binder and Pedro Acosta haven't been seen with it yet. Enea Bastianini isn't with it. It's only Maverick Vinales that's continuing to work with that new seat unit. So it's one of the big innovations that we saw come to Sepang, with both Honda and KTM trying to solve the issues that predominantly plagued their seasons. And looks as though, given the fact that we've not seen it on the majority of the bikes for either KTM or Honda, that clearly it wasn't the step that they were after. But we'll see throughout the course of today and into tomorrow. But you would have guessed, I mean, goes without saying, if it was a big improvement, still be on the bike.
Yeah, all 4 of them will be running it. Very quickly then before we go, because we are cooking in the heat here in Buriram. 2 manufacturers to quickly touch upon. Aprilia in a second. But first, KTM. Still quite a bit of mix and matching going on at KTM as they try to find the right formula. They're still very much working through a checklist down there to try and put the ideal 2025 bike together. Some signs of pace today so far from Pedro Acosta, but certainly expect the best of them when we get into tomorrow's final day. And Aprilia, who are boosted in numbers here. Ralph Fernandez is here and was out on track this morning. You caught it with Marco Bezzecchi a short time ago. You'll hear from him in After the Flag, but give us an idea of the mood at Aprilia on this first day here.
It looks as though the Aprilia squad are pleased with Marco's pace, his rhythm, especially on used tyres, which was a bit of an issue last year. But this place has been kryptonite to Aprilia. The Aprilia isn't very strong at all. Under braking, in particular, those super hard, upright, hard braking zones, which we were saying there are a lot of here. And Bez, when speaking to us earlier, said, yeah, it's an issue. It's very, very different how you get the bike stopped, the stopping performance compared to what he was used to with the Ducati. So looks as though that's still going to be an area of concern for them. So I wouldn't expect, given that, to see Marco Bezzecchi or Jorge Martin, of course, who's not going to be 100% fit, lighting the world up at round one. I feel that the Aprilias are a bit of an unknown still, because we don't know where they're at given the issues with Jorge Martin, but certainly I don't think that their true level is going to be evident at round one.
No, Aprilia certainly have their strengths. Perhaps this isn't the circuit that's best to exploit those strengths. So join us in a couple of hours' time. After the flag, we'll be live at 5:30 local time. That's 30 minutes before the checkered flag goes out. We'll continue for an hour afterwards, bringing you live analysis and reaction. Yamaha's technical director, Max Bartolini, will be joining us live amongst others. So make sure you're with us for that. We're off for some shade. We'll see you in a couple of hours.